Minnesota lawmakers targeted in politically motivated attack. Suspect captured. Following historic two-day manhunt, Minneapolis. The state of Minnesota is grappling with shock and grief after a politically motivated attack that resulted in the deaths of Democratic State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, and left State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette seriously injured. The suspect, Vance Boelter, 57, was captured late Sunday evening after an exhaustive two-day manhunt involving over 100 officers, the largest in Minnesota's history. The incident, described by officials as an act of political violence, has prompted urgent discussions on the increasing risks faced by public officials and the divisive rhetoric fueling such threats. Details of the attack. The attacks occurred in the early hours of Saturday morning, with the suspect targeting two prominent Democratic lawmakers in their homes. Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband, Mark, were fatally shot at their residence in Brooklyn Park. Senator John Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, were attacked shortly afterward in their home in Champlin. Governor Tim Walz provided updates on Sunday, sharing that Senator Hoffman had undergone successful surgery and is in recovery, while Yvette Hoffman is continuing to heal from her injuries. This cannot be the norm, Walz stated during a press conference. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. We must stand united against violence and intimidation.
Okay, this is the staging area in Green Isle. So this is going to be a distance from, I think Rob Olson told us the other day, it's about maybe 5 minutes or so drive from the farm where the Boelter farm.
A massive manhunt search for Boelter involved a coordinated effort from federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. More than 100 officers were deployed across Minnesota, employing drones, search dogs, and advanced tracking technologies. On Sunday, authorities discovered Boelter's vehicle and personal belongings abandoned approximately an hour from the crime scenes. This critically directed officers to a dense, wooded area where the suspect was located. Boelter, who was armed at the time, reportedly crawled toward officers during his apprehension. He was taken into custody without further incident.
It's crucial right now. Law enforcement in this day and age leans on technology. Getting these images out to the public is a crucial part of the investigation because now members of the public can see him looking a little bit different each time, getting a sense of his body type, his height, his face. Those close-up images are important. This is a very important step, particularly since they are several steps behind him. So they are, at this time, they're not sure. They probably haven't even been able to geo-fence a specific location at this time. Or we probably would have heard about it by now. So they're really leaning on the public.
The investigation, according to the criminal complaint filed in Hennepin County District Court, Boelter has been charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted second-degree murder. Investigators recovered an arsenal of weapons, including 3 AK-47 assault rifles and a 9mm handgun, from the suspect's vehicle, which was parked near Hortman's residence. Officials also found evidence suggesting premeditation, such as a list of potential targets spanning multiple states, including Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, Nebraska, and Iowa. Possible motive: Drew Evans, head of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, confirmed that Boelter maintained a list of lawmakers from the Midwest. While the investigation is ongoing, officials are exploring whether the suspect acted alone or was part of a broader extremist network. There is no immediate evidence of additional co-conspirators, but we are leaving no stone unturned, Evans said. What we do know is that this kind of violence is a direct attack on our democracy, and we must take every step necessary to ensure the safety of our public officials. Authorities have also noted a potential connection to recent political tensions and inflammatory rhetoric that may have inspired the suspect. Community and national reactions. The attack has sent shockwaves through Minnesota and beyond, with leaders across the political spectrum condemning the violence. Vigils and memorials have been organized in Brooklyn Park and Champlain to honor the victims and show support for their families. This tragedy reminds us of the importance of protecting those who dedicate their lives to public service, said Senator Amy Klobuchar, who expressed her condolences and called for greater measures to prevent political violence. House Speaker Melissa Hortman, who has been a leader in the Minnesota Capitol, was remembered for her dedication to public service, her passion for social justice, and her commitment to representing her constituents. Her husband, Mark, was described by friends as a loving partner and an active member of the community. Broader implications: the attack has reignited national discussions about the safety of public officials amid a growing climate of political polarization. Experts have warned of the dangers posed by individuals who may be radicalized by extremist ideologies or incited by divisive rhetoric. The U.S. Capitol Police and other law enforcement agencies have called for increased vigilance and enhanced security measures for elected officials. This comes as similar incidents of threats and violence have been reported across the country in recent years. Legislative and public responses. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Minnesota lawmakers have pledged to address the root causes of political violence. Proposals include increased funding for security measures, enhanced monitoring of extremist activities, and bipartisan initiatives aimed at fostering dialogue and reducing divisive rhetoric. Governor Walz emphasized the need for collective action, stating, "This is not just about politics. It's about the very fabric of our society. We must ensure that no one, regardless of their political beliefs, lives in fear for standing up for what they believe in." Looking ahead. As the community mourns the loss of Melissa and Mark Hortman, and as Senator Hoffman and his wife continue their recovery, Minnesota is grappling with profound questions about how to move forward. The tragedy has underscored the urgent need for unity, vigilance, and a renewed commitment to democratic principles. Further updates on the investigation, as well as the condition of the Hoffmans, are expected in the coming days. Meanwhile, Minnesota's leaders and residents are standing together, determined to honor the victims' legacy by building a stronger, safer future.
Time, please. Hi, Ken. Good morning. Police Chief Mark Bruley, Brooklyn Park Police Department. The question is, how did we get to Representative Hortman's house, and it was proactively or not? The circumstances that unfolded in Brooklyn Park this morning is that we assisted the Champlain Police Department on a shooting. That shooting was made aware by one of our sergeants that it was at Senator Hoffman's home. In hearing that, very intuitive sergeant asked our officers to go check on Melissa Hortman's home, the representative that lives in our community, just proactively as due diligence to swing by. That police officer and his partner pulled down the street. When they arrived at Melissa's house, they noticed that there was a police vehicle in the driveway with the lights, emergency lights on, and what appeared to be a police officer at the door coming out of the house. When our officers confronted him, the individual immediately fired upon the officers, who exchanged gunfire, and the suspect retreated back into the home.
Was this an actual police officer or impersonating police officer?
Yes, the question is, was it a real person or a person impersonating a police officer? It was not a real police officer. This is somebody that clearly had been impersonating a police officer, again, using the trust of this badge and this uniform to manipulate their way into the home.
So Chief, for the janitorial parallel, the person not only was wearing a badge posing as a police officer, when they approached their victims, they had a car with lights and sirens?
Yes, the question is what kind of vehicle and how were they dressed? They did drive a vehicle that looked exactly like an SUV squad car. It was equipped with lights, emergency lights that looked exactly like a police vehicle. And yes, they were wearing a vest with taser, other equipment that would, a badge very similar to mine, that no question, if they were in this room, you would assume that they are a police officer.
Chief Bruley, Adam Duxer with WCCO News. Can you describe the moments after that played out? You said the person went into the home, and then can you help us understand the next 10, 15 minutes of how we got to the point we're at now?
Yeah, briefly, although I'm just going to remind us that this is an absolutely active investigation. We have thousands of people sheltered in place in the city of Brooklyn Park right now. We are in an extensive manhunt involving hundreds and hundreds of police officers and SWAT teams searching, gridding off areas as we believe confidently the suspect had fled out the back of the house after being confronted by the police. Very briefly after the officers had exchanged gunfire and the suspect retreated into Melissa's home, they immediately went up to the threshold and looked in and seen a male that was down, clearly had been struck by gunfire. They made limited penetration, grabbed a hold of the male and drug him out to safety to attempt first aid. However, he was pronounced dead shortly after that. At that point, the officers surrounded the house, got additional resources and SWAT resources, and then ultimately went in with a drone identifying a female in the home.
How far apart are the two scenes? About 8 miles?
I would say, yeah, somewhere around 5 or 6 miles apart.
How much do you know about did the person that was impersonating an officer who allegedly shot these people, did they knock on the door and people came to the door, or did the person break into the home?
Yeah, it was knocking on the door and asking the person to come out, absolutely impersonating a police officer.
Okay. Do you all have the suspect's car?
We do have the suspect's car. Suspect is on foot. That is what the large-scale search is currently going on. I just remind residents of Brooklyn Park, I know it's been a long time, but those that are in the grid that we gave the alert out to continue to shelter in place. We're also reminding them that if somebody comes to the door and they knock on the door and claiming to be a police officer, please do a couple things. One, call 911 and confirm that the officer belongs there. If they are a police officer, dispatch will be able to confirm that that person is a police officer. Also, we've informed all our officers in Brooklyn Park that they are not to approach anybody by themselves. They're to approach in pairs, meaning 2 officers. So if there's only 1 officer outside the door, do not answer the door and call 911. If it's a Brooklyn Park police officer or any of our partners that are assisting, they will come in pairs of 2 or more.
Do you know
You
if
guys
the
have
gunman
detained
said
someone?
I'm sorry, 1 at a time.
Do you know if the gunman said anything, like when he knocked on the door, did he say anything to like Senator Hoffman or anything, you know?
We do know that he did, but I'm going to hold that back as part of the investigation right now.
You guys did detain someone for information? Is that accurate?
This is a very large-scale search, so we have detained several people and questioned them, but we do not have anybody in custody at this time.
I know you may not want to identify that person publicly, but have you privately identified the suspect?
We have people of interest that we are looking for.
Michelle Griffith, Minnesota Reformer. Other than that, these are 2 Democratic lawmakers. Is there anything else to suggest that this is politically motivated?
Again, I'm going to hold back most of the information. This is part of the investigation to get completed. This is rapidly evolving, just occurred a few hours ago, and we're trying to sort it out. We have partners from the FBI, the BCA, the Henry County Sheriff's Office, and almost every suburban agency in our community helping us with this. So it's very complex and working on it. But I will tell you, when we did a search of the vehicle, there wasn't a manifesto that identified many lawmakers and other officials. We immediately made alerts to the state who took action on alerting them and providing security where necessary. And that's about, I'll stop there.
Chief, thank you very much. We're going to take one more question.
Sure, with the BCA, can I ask just, you use the word target, and that's kind of along the lines of Michelle's question in terms of politics, Democrats, Republicans. These are both Democratic lawmakers. You said the word targeted. So targeted because they're politicians, or targeted because they're Democratic politicians?
So the question is were they targeted, and when I use the term, why am I using the term? As Chief Bruley noted, there was a list of individuals, and the individuals that were targeted in this situation were on that list. And so when we're looking at that, as Chief Bruley said, it's far too early in the investigation to be able to provide information, but I do think we'll be in a position where we'll be able to develop the motivation behind these attacks, and we'll be able to provide more information as this unfolds. And so that's part of the reason we're using it, is I think there's some preliminary information that is telling us kind of where this is headed, but we need a lot more work done by all the teams that are here working on that to be able to provide that with you with a degree of accuracy.
Are you able to say how many individuals were on that list?
Thank you.
There's a rally at the Capitol today. Can you guys, is that still, do you have any advice about
Colonel,
that?
you want to talk about the rally at the